Hi, welcome to Break Time with Brakeman. I am here with some amazing women who are on the front lines of helping us get through this pandemic. I have Carrie Hona, who's the executive assistant to the president of the United Food and Commercial Workers, Local 371, Clara Halfpenny, who works at the Winstead Stop and Shop, and Lucy Sharetto, who is a shop steward at the Southbury Stop and Shop. And I want all of us to hear their story and how they're getting through this time. So Carrie, I'm going to start with you. How are you all doing, and what is the union doing to help all your folks get through this?
Well, thanks for the opportunity, Bev, to kind of share our story and for you to hear from some of the women that are taking care of all of our communities now. We represent, between ourselves and another UFCW Local in Connecticut, we represent about 16,000 members in throughout the state of Connecticut, and working in supermarkets and also working in food processing, and as well as nursing homes and other industries. So some of our members are laid off right now, but many of them are still working and are on the front lines. And so they have spent really the last few weeks kind of with a variety of experiences. I think as we have moved through this process, they've started to get some of the protections that they need, but spent much of the beginning of this wholly unprotected from the public, that we're all coming in with, putting our members at risk. So our international union has really been leading the charge to protecting our members. We're happy that they're able to work, but we hear story after story of members going home after work and changing out of their clothes and taking a shower and spending a little time with their family and then going back to work the next day, always fearful that they're going to be sharing germs with the people that they love. So we're trying a few different things. We did originally have conversations with all of the employers that we represent to get hazard pay for our members. So a little bit of extra money. So for Stop and Shop, for instance, it's 10%. So for, newer members, we're only talking about, a little over $1 extra an hour. And then some of our longer term members are making $3 or $4 extra an hour. And we have other employers that are kind of paying an across the board rate of $2 extra in hazard pay. We also were happy that we were able to get two of our largest employers, being Stop and Shop and a number of the union ShopRights in Connecticut, to agree to allow our members that don't feel comfortable working to just take the time off. They can use their paid time off if they have it. If they are sick, they'll get 2 weeks of paid time off. But if they just have, if they themselves are immunocompromised, or they have somebody at home that they're worried about, or even if they just don't feel comfortable, at least they have the right, because they have the union, to just take the time off. And we do have a number of members that have chosen to do that. And their jobs and their seniority and all of their benefits are intact and protected. Because a number of our members that work in healthcare, for instance, really don't have that right. The federal government hasn't even protected them. If they want to take time off, they will lose their jobs. So, which is really is a tragedy, and we're not protecting our healthcare workers either in this fight. But we were able to get that extra pay and to have some protections should they want to or need to take time off, which we're happy for. The other big fight was really about masks, and we were continuing to get the company and push the company to do masks when the CDC was saying, you don't need them. And so the companies were really fighting us on even allowing our members to bring masks in that they have on their own, because they didn't want to create the impression to the customer that they were sick. And that really, created a difficult position where for weeks our members really were exposed to stuff that they might otherwise not have been. And I think the biggest thing to really keep in mind is that, we kind of keep celebrating supermarket workers as putting themselves out there, which is true, and they're incredibly brave and working really hard and around the clock, but they didn't sign up for this. They're not frontline workers that said, I'm going to be a doctor, I'm going to drive an ambulance, I'm going to be a firefighter. That's not what they chose to do. They chose to work in a supermarket for whatever reason. Maybe they want the flexible schedule for their families, whatever it was that made them come to the jobs they're in. They never said, what I'm going to do? I'm going to be a hero and expose myself to a whole lot of germs and put myself at a lot of risk for my community. So they have really stepped up, but it's not what they necessarily signed up for.
Yeah.
I'll let you hear from them.
Yeah, no, I appreciate all the work you're doing. And of course, everybody remembers the strike that was so mobilizing for so many that you all had to endure not that long ago. So anyway, but I'd love to hear from Clara and Lucy. How is it going? How is it on the front lines?
Well, when it first came about, I was afraid. I was scared. I'd walk in with a couple of my other coworkers, and because we were starting a little earlier, and we were scared. We weren't sure what to expect, and each day we just tried to be as careful as possible. Because again, in the beginning, we weren't wearing masks. We were wearing gloves. We were just trying to do what we thought was the right thing to do.
Right.
We took care of the customers the best we could, like we always would have. Especially for myself, I'm in the seafood department, and in the Southbury store, I'm kind of in a little cove, so I didn't have any terrible experiences with customers. But customers would ask me for stuff in the meat department and in the grocery department. And I would actually take their names and their phone numbers, and I would actually call them when the product came in. I would hold it for them, and they would come back and get it. And they were very grateful. I know a lot of people don't have that same story, but I had a lot of people thanking me for everything that I have done. And it's funny because my sister, who's a doctor, had said the same thing. She said, we took an oath in the healthcare department to take care of the sick. She says, where you did not, and my husband also works for the company. So we come home and we would change downstairs, and we still do. We have a little area where we disinfect. We strip, we put our robes on, we come upstairs, and we don't do anything until we shower. And if we bring home groceries, those get wiped off, put away, and then right up into the shower, and then we can start our night.
Right.
Yeah, it's interesting. I didn't think of it the way, my sister talked about it, but now as time is going on, I feel we're just getting used to, like, this is like the way of life. We walk in with our masks and our gloves. We take care of the customers the best we can. Customers are, like I said, for me, I've gotten nothing but thank yous. I get a lot of thank yous. And that means the world to me, but
Yeah.
things are still hard to get into the store, so customers are still frustrated, but I will help each and every one of them, even if it's not in my area, to try to get the product they need,
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, Lucy. That really gives us a real visual of what it's like to work in that environment and then go home. So Clara, how about you? How is it going for you at your store? And
Yeah, well, I work at the customer service desk and the pharmacy as a technician there, but it's definitely created a different mentality, I think, for everyone. In a way, we've as coworkers and just everything, we've kind of come together more, united more, and have more of a connection, I think, because we're getting through this together. Mm-hmm. And it's something that has been thrown at us that like Carrie and Lucy were saying, we didn't sign up for, and we didn't necessarily come prepared for this, because for me, why I chose to work at a grocery store is I like customer service. That's something I've always been interested in. And I'm glad that I get to work at the customer service desk, but it's great to have those thank yous. I really do appreciate that. There's times when you have a day where you walk in and you just happen to pick up the phone. It could be someone yelling in your ear because there's times when, because in order for us to get through this, everybody has to be respectful as shoppers with other people. So if one person walks in the store and they're not wearing a mask, when we have signs outside, these are the CDC guidelines, wear a mask, mm-hmm. The other people can feel at risk, and for good reason. So it's definitely been ways of everyone's got to respect everyone's space. I'll sometimes I'll say, I'll point out could you maybe give that other person a little bit more space so I can wait on this customer. And like, I'm glad what the union's done to, like, it's been slow progress sometimes, but at least now we have where we're wearing masks and we have the gloves and we have those supplies now. And I think that the customers and the workers like appreciate that now. I mean, it can be difficult because not everyone likes the whole mask idea, but I do personally see the difference because I don't have to feel like, oh, how am I going to be exposed today when I get home? I can just sanitize everything. And sometimes it's hard to breathe in the mask and you have to like step outside on your break and just take some.
Yeah, and if you wear glasses, right?
Yeah, I think I've noticed that being in the stores, and I've said that, you know, we had for weeks really tried to push Governor Lamont to make it mandatory for everybody to wear masks in the stores. Yeah. And I've noticed being in there, I feel, you know, it could be just that you guys are just getting used to, like you said, Lucy, it's like a new normal, but I feel as though people feel a little bit more relieved now that everyone's wearing a mask. And you're right, Clara, there are a few that just want to try to, you know, fight the system and do kind of make it an anxious situation for everyone. But the managers, and we have to continue to tell managers, but they're supposed to be instructing any customer that doesn't wear a mask to make sure that they stay 6 feet away from everyone. So I think just wearing them and seeing everybody around you wearing them makes you be more cognizant of making sure you're following the arrows, because we, you know, kind of, but for that sort of one-way stuff, which as a shopper I have a really hard time with. I get confused and I realize I'm probably going against the arrows sometimes. But all of those things, I think people have started to have a little bit more of a, like Clara said, we're kind of all in this together. So let's have a collective way to care for one another so that we can get back to normal. Because now there's all this talk about reopening the state, which at some point we have to be able to do. But the only way we're going to be able to do that is if everyone is wearing a mask every time you're near somebody else. That's the only way we're going to be able to keep each other safe, I think.
Yeah, and in our store, we actually make announcements up at the front end, and you know, they're telling all the customers. And I got to be honest with you, they're pretty good about it. I don't know about in Clara's store, but there's an announcement made probably every half an hour about making sure you're wearing masks and you know, stay 6 feet away. So those announcements are being made. And I know when I'm out on the floor, I have an elderly clientele where I am at, and I always check on them. I see how they're doing from a distance, but you know, you just try to help them the best you can, like you always would have. But you almost feel uncomfortable, like when you take your mask off, because it's like, oh my God, you know, like I got to keep that mask on until like I get in the car, and then I'll take it off and I hang it on my sun visor. You know, it's a new.
The other thing, Bev, that you know, I think you're probably involved in, and a number of labor unions are trying to really push the governor to do, is to create a workers' compensation presumption, so that if our members get sick at work, well, if they get sick, I think it's safe to say, you hear Lucy's routine, she got sick at work. She comes home and she goes to bed and then she gets up and does it again. So it is safe to presume that people who end up with this and are essential workers on the front lines got ill at work. And so if they were able to have that workers' compensation protection, it's going to replace their wages. It's going to cover any future healthcare costs they have. And God forbid somebody passes away, it's going to be able to protect their families too. That's happened in a number of states. We think it's really important to get done here.
Yeah, absolutely. And so we're at the end of what we're able to record on Zoom at this point, but I just want to thank you all so much. You know, as somebody who goes into the stores, I do feel, as wearing a mask, you do feel safer. And, you know, but I really do appreciate that you are all there, and I do understand the stress that you're under in doing what you do. And I think that, you know, when we get through this, I hope that people have more of an appreciation for folks like you who work in the service industry, don't get paid that well, really, compared to others who aren't working right now. I hope that something that comes out of this is a recognition of the work that you do and how important it is to all of us in our everyday life. So from all of us at UAW, I do want to thank you for that.
Thank you.
Thank you.